You saw the title. How is this Prodigy changing the game? And you know what? I feel like most of you probably know who I'm going to be talking about here. Of course, talking about the Chilean 15-year-old Prodigy taking the world by storm, Blaz. Along with the actual gameplay that he brings to the table, he's also changed the game in terms of being probably the richest 15-year-old in the FGC ever, with his second place finish at Capcom Cup 11 and second place finish at the Esports World Cup. He has a total in his rookie debut international season of 234,525 winnings already. So not bad for his first year really traveling the world and competing. You're like, it's really not bad at all. So can't complain about that. He might complain a little bit though, considering he's gotten so close to winning two of the biggest titles we have in the world of Street Fighter. But beyond just his amazing high level play, I wanted to break down exactly what makes him so special and exactly how I think Blaz is changing the game. So of course, there's a few things that stand out when you look at his gameplay. And I'm not, of course, talking about his ability to perfect parry and his situational awareness for conversions, which of course he does have. Check out this. Did you miss it? You won't miss this part. Trade anti-air stand heavy kick in the corner to the level 1 with safe jump setup to bait out the anti-air perfect parry into the punish counter throw, and just for a little bit of sauce, the Denjin level 1. So, I mean, I gotta rewind here. Look at what happened in this moment. Mai here has flame stock. She lands the level 1 here. She throws out the fireball. This fireball is not a regular fireball anymore. It is an enhanced projectile. Perfect parry number 1. Drive rush screen freeze, by the way. Perfect parry number 2. The fact that he got that perfect parry at all is ridiculous. It's a double back-to-back perfect parry. You have to perfect parry each individual hit of the projectile with 0 screen freeze. But he also did it during the uncontrollable timed screen freeze from the offensive Mai player here, and still got the check on the overhead in time. So his perfect parry timing, I think, is of the best on the planet. I'm looking at players like Blas, players like Ending Walker. To me, they've even surpassed Kakadu in terms of being the best players on the planet for using perfect parry. That really stands out to it in his gameplay whenever I watch him. And of course, the situational awareness is superb. The way he converts to max damage combos, even in the weirdest interactions, like ready for that neutral jump and ready for the trade combo on a dime like that. Absolutely ridiculous. But that's not what I want to talk about today. And you know what? I want to talk about his ability to get rid of drive gauge, but in a specific way. So of course, he knows how to target the drive gauge. I mean, look at this sequence against Lashar at Esports World Cup. With 20 seconds down, Lashar was at 3 bars of drive gauge. Blas makes him block 1 time, and then from this 1 block, Lashar goes, oh shit, I'm in burnout. Let me just drive reversal and go into burnout on my own terms. So Blas definitely knows how to target the drive gauge. Half of your drive gauge gone out of nowhere. Now, of course, this is part of Ryu's toolkit as well. Like, Ryu is especially effective at destroying drive gauge, but Blas knows how to target it at a different level. But that's not what I want to talk about here specifically. And it's not his ability to mix up the opponents and go for resets, which he also has. I'm sorry, this is kind of like the Lashar highlight reel. I'm sorry, Lashar. Just Blas has some good moments against you. Look at Blas here, fighting for the comeback here in this set. Finds the hit, drive rush cancel overhead into the level 3. And he laughs about it, man. He's like, I got away with that one. I think a lot of people misinterpret this laugh for this moment of him being arrogant. I think he's a 15-year-old kid like, wow, I really snuck that one past Lashar. I got away with one right there. He goes straight into the level 3 just because he can. It's less optimal, by the way, to not do a full combo conversion. He just likes going straight into the level 3. So I don't want to talk about his ability to go for resets, but I wanted to talk about how he's changed the game with how he goes for resets, because what he demonstrated here is a typical Street Fighter 6 reset. Go for a combo, and instead of completing the combo, which would end up in getting a guaranteed knockdown, once this hit connects, he can get a guaranteed knockdown and potentially go for offensive pressure. Instead, he chose to apply the overhead here for a risky reset, which could be interrupted by buttons, reversal uppercut, or just blocked, and he would have been in a really negative position. But if it landed, he would get the win. So he overextended to potentially get a big win out of this moment, and it paid off. And I think that was a great time to go for a reset. But traditionally, resets are done for this kind of a purpose: getting the next hit in a combo sequence. Blas does something rather different. And once again, I'm sorry to Lashar, you're Le Goat, but Blas has some highlights on you. This, to me, is one of the greatest sequences I have ever witnessed in Street Fighter history, and potentially my favorite sequence in all of Street Fighter 6. This is Losers Finals of Capcom Cup. Blas at set point to go up 3-0 over Lashar to earn his way into Grand Finals. And I'll just let this clip play out.
For himself a little bit, but it's been a real quick switch. Blaz has been able to escape a lot of the time and put him in the corner himself. Oh no, that one was an empty safe jump.
Oh, the objective is to get the burnout. He sure does accomplish just that. Lashar still sitting on 3 bars. I like that setting light kick into the,
This is the little cherry on top.
Oh, and Lashar able to recover in time. He did start it first. But still, while in burnout here, Blas, no meter, but he still has access to a DI, and he's gonna hit it. And Blas, just like that, charge up the Hashogeki, show him the door, because kid, you're in Grand Finals.
One of the craziest sequences I've ever seen in Street Fighter, and I gotta give major props to Ringe here. That call was beautiful. I get goosebumps watching this moment. Blas, where no one besides his fellow Chilean countryman was suspecting he could potentially go this far at his first Capcom Cup appearance, taking out probably the favorite to win it all, Lashar, 3-0 with that crazy sequence. And you can see how valuable it was that Lashar was in burnout in this situation, right? It forced Lashar to go for these ridiculous situations. He tried to react to the dry rush with his level 3. Blas tried a level 3 of his own because he couldn't block in time to defend against this. He had to do something, so he wanted to go get the second super to punish. They happened, for some reason, it happened to just phase through. That was an unlucky interaction for Blas, but he doesn't have enough time to get a heavy punish. But still, after all that, Lashar is still in burnout, and Blas ends up able to pressure him into the corner to get the stun, to get the round. So you can see how valuable it is that he got that burnout. What is really interesting is how this all occurred. Blas is in the corner here, getting beat up. He goes for a safe jump, or an empty jump here rather, to bait out the DP from Lashar. At this moment, the world is in Blas's hands. Lashar's life bar is in Blas's hands. He can go for an absolute monster of a punish. He has 3 bars of super. He has 4.5 bars of drive gauge. He can really do a lot of damage here. Instead, he goes for a heavy kick, which is a normal combo starter in the situation. And then, after the heavy kick, heavy punch into another heavy punch. This is not a combo. Typically, after that first heavy punch, you would drive rush cancel, or go into a special, perhaps a level 3 here, in order to apply a lot of damage. He chose instead to do an on-hit reset, not in order to mix up the opponent to go for a tick throw or to go for a high-low mix, not in order to mix them up, but a reset where he wants you to block. He is baiting your block in this moment because he knows that as soon as you block this, he has Denjin charge and he has drive gauge. If he went to spend 3 bars of drive gauge instead on this combo conversion, he would be down to 2 bars remaining and in kind of a not great spot in terms of drive gauge and still needing to make a comeback. And if he canceled into level 3, it wouldn't kill, and Lashar would still have 1.5 bars of drive gauge. They'd be almost even in drive gauge. So instead, he goes heavy punch into OD Hasho, only 2 bars spent. He's maintaining the drive gauge lead in this situation. This is plus on block. It's plus 3 on block here, or I think it's more actually with the Denjin behind it. This one here, without the enhancement, is then definitely plus 3. So he spends it another one. His drive gauge is getting chunked away, plus 3 again, and then goes for another one into the regular Hashogeki, which I believe this one was light, which is actually -3 on block. But you know, you never know when it's going to take his turn back. So he does on block, on hit resets to block strings to attack the drive gauge, and this ended up earning him that weird scramble situation and eventually the stun to get this round. And you can see the calculation in terms of the resource management. If he the best option I think he had besides the sequence was maybe immediate level 3 and then hope to try to burn out Lashar, but that's not guaranteed. Once he did this, it's either, hey, you trade with this sequence, or you know, you give me your drive gauge. So we can actually look at some of this in training mode. Ryu is actually a really great example for this. Like, Ryu is probably the best character at doing this type of a mix-up, but it shows that this is possible with potentially any character. So just to show the combo situation, after this punish counter, stand heavy kick to heavy punch, you can see here he's left at +4. So normally after this, you would either go into a special move or you would go into a drive rush cancel. So a typical sequence would have been like this. Like, Blas could have done something like this. That's not optimal, but he could have done this much damage. He could have done a lot of damage, for sure. Now, it might not have killed was the issue, and he needed to make a comeback, and if he burnt himself out and exhausted all his resources, he'd be in a losing position. So instead, once he lands this sequence, he ends it there, and he's at +4. He's right there at +4. And he also has Denjin. Let's set this up again with Denjin. So he's here at +4. And then he goes for another heavy punch here. There is a gap here. There is a gap. If in fact, if Lashar here was mashing his stand light punch, he could potentially interrupt this. So there was a risk involved there. However, Blaz could choose a less faster option here with less reward and still just counter it. So the odds of you just mashing a button here are very low. And Lashar could have also have gone instead for something like an invincible reversal. But if he did an invincible uppercut instead, he would have spent 2 bars and potentially been nearer to burnout. Even if Blaz got hit there, he wouldn't have killed. So Blaz was okay with the drive gauge situation if Lashar wanted to spend the 2 bars and just mash a reversal. It was definitely an option. But instead, we see that he just blocked. And so once you block this, that is +4, baby. What are you going to do after this +4? And after that, he gets the crouching heavy punch. So on block, like, you can mash jab there. This is a 9-frame move. A 4-frame jab will interrupt. But of course, once again, he could just do anything else. I think the option with Ryu would be like stand medium into something like that. You can just get counter hit. So the first one is stand heavy. Crouch heavy will be interrupted. But are you really going to interrupt there? Oh, back heavy? Oh, excuse me. Thank you. Oh, yeah, that one's true. Even worse. You got to hold that, brother. Where's your drive gauge? And any one of these trades, that trade was 16 frames of advantage. That is a full combo conversion for Ryu. So as soon as he got this situation and he secured this reset to the OD Hashogeki, you are highly incentivized to block, which means once he gets this, let me do it properly one time. Where did your drive gauge go? Where did your drive gauge go? And in any one of these interactions, if you press the wrong option, he goes for the tighter string, you're going to get counter hit into a full combo or secure a trade combo. Now, the counter to this, of course, is you could just go for a drive parry. That is, of course, an option. Say, after blocking. Right? Just hold that parry. Drive gauge replenished, right? But at any moment, he could just stop and throw you. You're still guessing. You're still guessing. So Blaz saw this opportunity with landing this combo on hit. Instead of cashing out to massive damage and potentially burning himself out, he chose the other option. So let me set up the exact drive gauge so you guys can see. So once again, he could have gone for something like this. But after this sequence, you'll see that Lashar still would have had drive gauge. Level 3, drive gauge remaining. It would be very difficult for Blas to secure burnout, and he could potentially get caught into a confirm into death and be checkmated because he'd have no super to defend against a checkmate situation into DI. So instead, at this moment, it's reset time, baby. And from here on forward, Blaz keeps his drive gauge above 2 bars and gets to assault Lashar, and you saw the amazing sequence that followed. So the meta has changed when I watched Blaz. In Street Fighter, typically resets were often considered a little cheeky, a bit of a no-no. Going for a risky was always reset was always considered risky. Generally, the rule of thumb was a reset needs to earn you a really advantageous situation, like a kill, especially if you had no other option. Otherwise, going for the guaranteed full combo conversion into Oki was much stronger. That was the general rule of thumb for most characters in Street Fighter 4 and 5. And then even stuff like this, very risky to spend that much resources in 6 unless you needed to make a comeback and that was going to secure a win, right? It was about managing the resources. Never was a reset intended to be blocked until this game with the drive gauge system. So that was a really, really clever reset from Blaz. And I remember seeing that live during Capcom Cup and being like, wait a minute, what was that? That moment stuck out to me. And it wasn't a one-time thing because we have another Lashar highlight. I'm sorry, Lashar. This is not meant to be the Lashar getting beat up highlight. But Blaz goes for this same sort of mentality again. And this time, it's from another clever situation. So similar. Look at the drive gauge. Lashar's having flashbacks. He manages to escape this one. He incorporated jump back. But look at this. Lashar actually wins this round. Blaz wins this set, but Lashar wins this round. Look how similar this situation was. Blaz in the corner. He has like 4 and a half bars to drive gauge. Lashar less than half. He remembers this. He's traumatized from that round at Evo. And this is, or Capcom Cup rather, this is super clever because it's from another smart situation to go for this kind of strategy. When you get a perfect parry, your damage is already extremely scaled, and you're not going to get much from this combo on hit. So it was crazy to see him go for that on the whiffed DP because he can get a huge combo. Here, no matter what, Blaz only doesn't even have any bars of super. There's no way he's going to do a lot of damage here. The best he would do is get a knockdown and some corner carry, right? That's what Blaz could go for. So this is a super smart situation to incorporate this kind of tech. When you get a perfect parry, set up an on-hit reset, especially if their drive gauge is in a questionable situation. And Blaz does that. Heavy kick. Once again, crouch heavy that time. Crouch medium. He doesn't have as much frame advantage here because he didn't have Denjin. And I think Lashar incorporated the jump back just to like mix things up. So he almost got caught. Lashar fights back in this sequence and actually wins the round and doesn't get burnt out. But that's another situation in which you can incorporate this tech yourself as after a perfect parry. And another player features a similar attack on drive gauge style is the other Prodigy from Chile, Crime. Now, there was no specific situation where Crime actually used an on-hit reset, but you can see the focus on drive gauge so heavily with these players and of course these characters. Like Ryu is really good at this. So Crime is in burnout, but extends with the heavy hasho. And then this time, he whiffs the light hasho on Daigo. So Daigo in this set had been so conditioned with the mind games of the Hashogeki strings, because Crime would not stop going for bulldoze Hashogeki strings to attack the drive gauge the entire set. Daigo had a DP so much. At this point, when Crime is in burnout and Daigo's drive gauge is low, he's conditioned him to parry to avoid losing his drive gauge. So after the heavy hasho earning plus frames, he does medium, stand light kick, into light hasho to purposely push him out to make the Hashogeki whiff. And if you parry and don't drive rush forward, that's kind of the meta. You should do whiff parry, drive rush OS to avoid this. He walks up and gets a grab. And then you can see there, that time, Daigo is maybe trying to backdash at this point after the punish counter throw. Because now that he's about to get burned out no matter what he blocks, he's maybe trying to backdash or jump away. Crime just sets up the perfect string to go low into light hasho into level 3. So the whole sequence there was focused on the drive gauge damage. Everything about this interaction was about countering Daigo, trying to counter the block damage from the drive gauge chip. So this wasn't exactly doing the resets that I was referring to, but it shows how important it is to focus on the resource of drive gauge rather than just the resource of life. And so when I watch Blas now, it gets my gears turning. I'm going to be looking for a lot more opportunities for, especially after perfect parries or situations where I can't really, it's not worthwhile to cash out with drive rush cancel combos. Figure out a way to reset into block strings and to secure the burnout and set against your opponent, and you'll be winning a lot more interactions. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Peace.